Welcome to Love Your Liver. I made this for you so you can feel empowered by anatomy knowledge as well as give your liver some love through movement medicine. I'm Osteopathic Mechanic, and let's dive into it. Today, we will go over the role of the liver, the role of the operator, which is you, an osteopathic concept of container versus content, dive into the position, mobility, and vitality of the liver, and then learn a couple ways you can write love letters to your liver to say, "Thank you for working so hard for me." The liver does tons. The liver is working so hard for you every day in all of these different processes, and I've highlighted a few of them. Main one being digestion. The liver is known as the commander of the digestive system. It's essentially this giant football size bag of blood that is constantly going through these processes, no days off. So, for digestion, it is producing bile, a chemical that will help your body break down fats, and it also metabolizes other macronutrients that we ingest, such as carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Another thing the liver does for you, which we should be so grateful for, is it acts as a storage or a reservoir of vitamins such as A, D, B12. It's also storing iron and lipids and cholesterol, as well as glycogen. So, anytime that we need an influx of energy, we can call upon the liver and access those nutrients and energy storages. Another thing the liver does for us is it filters blood. Essentially, it's taking blood through the system and it's filtering any of the waste products, the old or dead red blood cells, all the hemoglobin that has been processed and utilized, and then it converts ammonia into urea, which is an important physiological metabolic process. The next process the liver does is blood production. So it will produce albumin, which is a blood protein that carries hormones, drugs, and fatty acids throughout our entire body. It's serving as a messenger. And it also produces blood clotting factors, which will help us clot blood after injury. This is one of our innate healing mechanisms that our body can do. Another thing the liver does for us is blood sugar regulation, and it will supply glucose to the body whenever it's needed, kind of what we talked about in terms of storage. We can access the storage of glucose through glycogen packages, and it'll also remove glucose from the blood when there's too much circulating. Last thing I'd like to highlight about the role of liver is to serve as a detoxification system. So it's converting toxins into waste products. It clears the blood of drugs and other poisonous substances, and it also fights infections. So we see that the liver and our immune system have an intimate role. Let's talk about your role, the operator. If the liver is performing a multiple crucial jobs 24/7 to keep you alive, the least you can do is give it a token of gratitude and some TLC ever so often. Let's gain awareness as the operator of what the position is of our organ. How does it move and does it require more mobility or less mobility, as well as tune in to the vitality of the organ. Is it alive? Is it thriving? Is it having any impedance or dis-ease in its natural processes? In terms of position, we'll see how the liver lives in its container. So this is a cartoon version of the rib cage. We are seeing this cartoon version of the liver living inside of the cage, very well protected. So I like to use this exercise of percussion to see where the liver is in the rib cage. If we were to tap our fingers on top, close to where our lungs are, the percussion would produce a high pitch, airy sound. Versus if we went below the nipple line and tapped and percussed our organ underneath, that would be more likely our liver producing a lower pitch, dense sound. To orient ourselves in our mid thoracic vertebrae, in the posterior views, now we're looking from behind us, the bottom of our scapula or our shoulder blade bone is around the level of T7. So this may, from the posterior view, be the top margin of the liver, but from the front view, if you were to envision that exterior of our chest, the nipple, it would be just below the nipple region around rib 5 and 6. We'll notice that it'll also cross over to the left side of our body in the left lobe, being dissected by the sternum and the xiphoid process here. And to find the bottom margin of the liver, we'll palpate to the very bottom of our rib cage, and that will be the ending of the lobe. So including our floating ribs, 12 and 11. I really like this diagram because it's showing how the container is directly connected to the contents through ligament attachments. We'll start at the center here of the coronary ligament via the diaphragm. So this is a direct anatomical connection to the diaphragm. And then we'll hang over to the left side here, which will also blend into the left side of the diaphragm for the left triangular ligament. If we were to reflect this ligament on the superior side of the diaphragm, we would then meet the heart. So this is a direct liver to heart connection. Next, we'll see the diaphragm in connection to the abdominal wall. So this is a big anchor in our core stability, as well as more into the anterior abdominal wall via the falciform ligament. That falciform ligament will anchor in front, horizontal, as well as diagonally down to the umbilicus, which is our belly button. So we can really see that in these medial anchors or midline anchors that the body will translate a lot of abdominal forces through the torso, also through the liver. Next, we'll see more on the posterior and bottom side. We have deep connections to the stomach, the lesser omentum, and the common bile duct. So this is attachments to our biliary system or our gallbladder. Then we'll also see a connection to the right kidney and right hepatic flexure of the colon. So this is just where the ascending colon meets the transverse colon and will come into this flexure or corner of the intestine. And this will be all the lateral rib cage here on the right side, and the right triangular ligament will also connect to the diaphragm and up towards the right shoulder. So we can see these deep connections between the container and the contents, transmitting forces globally and regionally. Next, we'll check out the impressions on the surface of the liver, which I find super cool. So you may not often see the back inner side impressions or imprints of the liver. This might be new to you, but still super important to understand the neighbors and relationships of the contents of the liver. So there's intimate anatomical relationships between the liver and the esophagus. Let's think about GERD and digestion and burping and that heartburn sensation in relation to the liver position. We also have the gastric impression, which is the stomach. So a large part of that gastric bag will overlap with the liver bag. We also have the pyloric impression. So the pylorus is the ending of the stomach bag as it starts becoming the small intestine. And then we'll also see the colic impression here. This is the transverse colon, which is the colon that comes across the body after the ascending, and will go across to the descending colon. We have a nice nook here for the gallbladder to rest deep into the liver on the posterior side. Next, we'll look at the colic flexure on the right colic flexure. We mentioned this just previously with the ligaments. So the actual colon will ascend, turn direction, and continue as the transverse. And that's why we also saw an impression here on the mid side. Just above that is a renal impression. That means our right kidney is hugging our liver. So we need to think about the dynamics of the liver and how that helps the processes of the right kidney. This will be the suprarenal impression, which is the adrenal gland, the energy system. We hear this buzzword, adrenal fatigue or chronic fatigue. And so there's a deep connection between the liver and the adrenal system. Another buzzword is the HPA axis, and that is our hormone axis. So the liver has a big component into that. In this area, the bare area, this is the actual suction onto the diaphragm area. Next, let's talk about the mobility or the body rhythm of the liver. Because it has all these connections to the container and it's required to have mobility in its metabolic and physiological processes, it will have an innate body rhythm in which it likes to move in and thrive in, almost like a liver breathing. If we were thinking about an inhalation, which will experience an expansion, the liver will flex forward, side bend to the right, and rotate to the left. And this will be its expression of expansion. And when it comes into a retracted state, it will then follow extension, side bending left, and rotating right. And this isn't necessarily a body rhythm that completely matches your respiration because there is some control into how we can breathe in inhalation, exhalation. But in terms of the body rhythm, the liver rhythm, it will be a much slower cadence in the flexion and extension and in the side bending and rotation of the organ. It's also really important when we're talking about mobility of the liver. We also want the container to have mobility. So it's really important that those ribs can experience the pump handle effects and have the lateral expansion as well as lifting up and falling down. Another important part of mobility is the innervation of the organ. So, relating back to the spine and the visceral somatic connections. So, the way that we can liberate the spinal segments of the liver is using the osteo wiggle, which we'll see in our mobility session to follow. And when we think about the innervation, the nervous system supply of the liver, we'll look at parasympathetic. So this is the resting and digesting of the liver, and that will relate to the vagus nerve, which we know comes from the central nervous system down through the base of the skull and continued on to the rest of the abdomen. And when we think about the sympathetic innervation, the boost, the liveliness of the organ, that's relating to the spinal segments T5 to T9. So T means thoracic spine. We know around the scapula was about T7. So we go just above that to T5 and then down to T9. So just about 2 fingers or just below the bra line. Another important thing to consider for the liver is, does it have vitality? The liver circadian rhythm, which is different from the body rhythm, this is basically when is the liver most awake or most functioning, and it is between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. So one of the signs of liver dis-ease is waking up frequently and consistently between the hours of 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. And this is how the liver circadian clock works. It will adjust to physiological processes based on the time of day. So the liver is sending signal to the brain via the vagus nerve to let the brain know when to eat. Signs that your body clock is disruptive are diagnosis of diabetes and obesity, working night shifts, so when the body should be sleeping in its circadian rhythm, but actually it's in full function, and emotions like stress, anger, resentment, frustration, as well as drinking too much alcohol can disrupt the liver body clock. There is a personality type of an unhealthy liver, or I like to call an unhappy liver, and this liver experiences itchy, bitchy, sleepy, grumpy, lots of worrisome, a foggy brain, poor memory, bloating, very bloaty, very angry, and also very painy. So these are all characteristics that your liver is really asking you for some TLC. And how we know that the liver is now in a happy state and embodying this healthy state. So this is the signs, the personalities of a healthy liver. That liver will be kind and generous and empathetic. It'll be more inclined to engage with community and more inclined to experience positive self-talk. So I have a reflection for you, as well as that awareness drill. We were talking about position, mobility, and vitality, but also ask yourself, what are you consuming? As a digestive organ, as a metabolic organ, what are you consuming physically? Are you receiving that movement medicine? What are you consuming mentally in terms of stressors or contributing to that unhealthy liver, unhappy liver? Anything toxic, because we know the liver is a major detoxifier. And then also socially, same thing too. Are you engaging in healthy, positive relationships, or would you describe your relationships with others and yourself or your work environments as toxic? So all of these will contribute to how hard your liver has to work with you, which again, Remember, it has no days off. And here's some daily dosage, weekly dosage, monthly dosage, just little love letters you can check in with yourself to supplement habits of a happy liver. So, the liver loves walking. Continuous walking for more than 30 minutes is considered moderate exercise. And it is the only way that your body can produce HDL. HDL is the happy lipids that really helps all your metabolic processes, weight management, and mood, and it's not something that we consume through our nutrients. The liver produces it through exercise. There's also this natural remedy of castor oil packs and heating pads. Basically, your liver has an innate ability to detox, and the castor oil it has a natural root oil which promotes this innate ability. Another thing that you can do is view your food as medicine. Look at your food and see it as energy consumption. Think of it as when I put this in my mouth, what will my cells say? How will they thank me? If I'm eating greasy, fatty, alcoholic foods, will my cells be saying, thank you so much, this is so easy to use? Or if I'm consuming whole foods and not ultra processed foods, what will my cells be saying then? They'll be saying, thank you, I can use this for a long time. It's really going to help me pull through all the things that I need to do today, or just give me a boost of energy. Another thing that you can do is let it go. Let go of anything that you're resenting or harboring or feelings of anger, whatever your practice is. And the last part is embody gratitude. So it doesn't have to be this whole grand gesture because every little thing that you do makes a huge difference. So starting small, starting one at a time, even if it's just not holding your breath throughout the day, the liver would be very happy about that. And just say thank you. Just kind of we're looking at different body parts. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for moving me and for helping me smile and helping me be happy. Embodying that gratitude will also translate into gratitude in your other life dimensions, in your other relationships. So remember to love your liver and give yourself more credit because the little things that you do make all the difference. It doesn't have to be this whole grand gesture, changing your entire life upside down, but every little thing that you do counts. And here are just some tools to love your liver. Let's get moving together and make that liver smile.